welcome to the stream. I think if you watched the last live stream, I had the blur effect on the back, but I think it might have it might have slowed down the stream a little bit. So I'm gonna try to just have this beautiful kitchen background. Beautiful, beautiful. I promise I'll like add more stuff to that side of the of the background just so you have more stuff to see. But in the meantime, thank you so much for joining us today. For those of you who came to this live stream, you all know that we're going to have a horror hot takes live stream up here. We will, so Reg is just preparing, is just like a bit of a connection thing. But other than that, we will start soon. Reg will also tell her story about medical things. And one of those medical things is that she was unfortunately pulled into having to deliver a baby. I think more than one. Well, she'll tell the story. You'll see it in a bit. But in the meantime, we have gathered a list of things, a lot of hot takes that we have for horror. So I hope you guys have a good time. Just vamping a little bit before Reg comes in, and yeah, if you have any other suggestions, we've actually got the chats pulled up right here. Restream right now is streaming to both Twitch and YouTube. Um, so please feel free to like put your chats in. We will read them out loud. And hopefully you enjoy this night. Sometimes we're like, oh, there can't be enough like content for like 2 hours, but then we get really into the deep discussions and it gets really fun. So yeah, feel free to chat, feel free to drop any ideas you have below. If we have time, we might have like a short watch session, especially if the horror media you're looking at is going to be really short, like a trailer or like something like a I don't know, like a really short clip, or a lot of YouTube content, because I'm seeing a lot of really cool YouTube horror content coming out. And a lot of actually some of them have been suggested today. So just for an idea of what we'll be looking at, let me just bring up a couple of the things on the list. So on Tumblr we got an ask that said we'll be bringing up the Saw series, the Chucky series, Fear Street, Stranger Things, Bird Box, Rocky Horror Picture Show. And for games like Until Dawn, The Last of Us, Doki Doki Literature Club, Toga Inu no Chi, and Sweet Pool. Hopefully, that'll be fun to talk about, actually. Um, and of course, again, if you have any other suggestions, please feel free. I'm going to look at the Twitter as well, just to make sure we didn't miss anything. I believe that the suggestions that have been put down here include um, backrooms, the concept of the backrooms, in fact. The original description of it is fairly short to read. Okay, so the backrooms are also really fun. For those of you who don't know what the backrooms are, it's a YouTube phenomenon is how I describe it. But yeah, it's like a really fun YouTube series. The first video I think is one that went most viral, or at least like the most viral video is one I remember. It is the concept that the world has really creepy back rooms in which really like freaky things are happening. It's almost like something is running, yeah, behind the scenes, even though, it's the world. So that was a really cool concept that somebody did. I believe it's still ongoing. I've only watched a couple of those. Like I don't think I watched all of the backroom stuff, and I know there are a lot of been a lot of like videos being released because I did subscribe. I just never watched the rest of it. But I find those really interesting, and yeah, like we'll be discussing it in detail as well. Again, feel free to get into the comments or into the chat to make sure you can, enjoy, like you can like discuss some things. Okay, Woxy on Twitch says it reminds me of the distortion from TMA or the Magnus Archives. Exactly, like it is very similar to the distortion. For those of you who aren't aware, and we are going to be bringing up the Magnus Archives quite often, is the distortion is one of the fears in the Magnus Archives, and the Magnus Archives basically deals with like a lot of different manifestations of fear. And one of them is a distortion, and the distortion was manifested in a lot of different ways where things don't make sense. But in particular, there was the manifestation of really creepy hallways, and we aren't exactly, shy about our really creepy hallways in Haina either. But yeah, like basically the distortion of reality madness, a lot of really fun stuff like that. And the back rooms is a little similar to that, especially with the creepy hallways and um, there's a character in the back rooms, not character, I guess, like a creepy monster thing in the back rooms that I describe as a skinny version of Doodle Bob from SpongeBob SquarePants. Listen, I'm not wrong, okay? It's a really effective monster. It kind of looks like it's been doodled but in real life, and the way it moves is so uncanny that it really is very scary, and the way it's presented is very wise as well. Like it's not overused, but it is very creepy. But again, like many things we're going to be mentioning in this live stream, I'm going to be referencing them as something way less scary. And in this case, the backrooms monster is Doodle Bob from SpongeBob SquarePants. Yeah, from SpongeBob SquarePants. Um, so yeah, we're just waiting up, and I'm gonna look at the others. I think there are other suggestions. Let me just make sure that we didn't miss any. Again, suggest some things if you want to. As soon as Reg comes in, we're gonna be discussing her story first, and then we're gonna be discussing our hot takes. And one of the hot take, and our main reason for bringing this up is actually because we have a lot of hot takes about Midnight Mass. So stay tuned for that. And welcome, Reg. Hello.
Hey, hello. Sorry I'm late. I've been trying to figure out my microphone situation because I got a new microphone.
Welcome. Yay. No worries. Actually, my microphone is actually giving me so much trouble. I had troubleshooted it like 3 times today, and it still like decided not to work. So I understand your pain.
Oh
It's kind of a
man,
weird one. Let me just make sure that this is happening. How are you doing?
I'm okay. Yeah, great to see everyone. Sorry I'm late again. And yeah, like I came in just as I heard Midnight Mass, which we have a lot of hot takes of.
Oh yeah, and it's been a while, so maybe not all the hot takes are gonna be fresh and straight from the oven. But
Yeah,
these will be
yeah.
super fun. But before that, we must, Reg, you must tell us the story of your life, and how Reg. Okay, we're gonna preface this. Reg is a medical student. What part of the medical student life are you in right now? For those of us who are unaware, everyone.
I am in my fourth year, so I am doing my clinical clerk rotation. So that means I'm basically mostly in the hospital now. I do my duty, my shift. So it's basically out of class. It's basically hospital rather than class learning. So that's where I am right now. So
Yeah,
story
and
time.
yeah, story time with Reg. And this will give you a good idea of what the hospital life looks like in the Philippines. So be very educational. I'm gonna spotlight Reg over here because she's gonna be doing. Let me just do this. The story time there. Hello, Reg. Good morning.
Hello.
Okay, let's do this.
Hello.
Tell your story.
So in my school, the teaching hospital is a private hospital. But part of the program is for every rotation. So right now I am in obstetrics. That's 6 weeks of obstetrics. My last week is next week. So for our school, the curriculum is for every rotation you do 1 week. You do 1 week in a public hospital. So I did that last week. I did that at, maybe I won't name names. Maybe I won't say what the hospital is.
Call them out. No, I'm kidding. Don't. We don't want to get sued.
Yeah, so I won't say what the hospital is, but it's a public hospital. And to say that there was some culture shock, um, that's putting it lightly when I got there. So to give you an idea, my school, I mean, we still have like service, or what we call like charity patients, so patients who don't have to pay for the care that they get. Even there in a hospital, the care that they get, they pretty much have red carpets rolled out rolled out for them in comparison to in a public hospital. And in the public hospital, it's because it's not, it's, you know, it's really just how it is. There's so many people, and it's a government hospital. There's so many people, and and it's quite understaffed, I think. So in the hospital I'm at, I get like what, like 2 to 3 patients per shift. The moment when I set foot in the public hospital, um, the like I was expecting like, oh, I wonder how many patients I get, and then I get there, I was told, no, you're not assigned a patient, you're assigned a floor. So I was assigned to the labor room. There was two of us, so I had 8 patients. I go there, and the thing is, what you basically do as a clerk is you every hour you're supposed to get their vitals. And if you're also in the medical practice, you know that like taking vitals like properly takes some time. You have 8 patients and you have to do it every single hour. It's a little impossible. And so I go there, and plus, you know, it's a government hospital, you know, like in the private hospital, I normally do my shifts at. You know, whenever like a mom is about to give birth, she gets wheeled over to a private room and everything. And the in the when she's you know, when she's already like at 8 centimeters cervical dilatation, that means she's like gonna pop in a bit. But she still needs to make her way to 10 centimeters. So she gets like a private room where she gets to like she gets to open her cervix like more in peace, in private. So she needs that's when she needs to start pushing. But in a public hospital, right there and then in the hallway in the ward, like they're just like their pussies are just out. So you literally have women like trying to give birth like out in the hallway because there's no room. There's no room anymore. Like like yeah, like there are beds like out in the hallway. It's a sterile area, by the way. So I mean, it's out in the hallway, but it's still within the sterile area. So you still have to like scrub in, and wear your hairnet and wear shoes dedicated to the operating room. So I go in there. I'm trying to do monitoring like every hour. Like their mom's crying all over, and then by the way, and this is my first shift. I had no idea what to expect, so I'm just doing my best here. And then there's like a mom crying, and then I'm like, and there's a mom crying, and I'm just not trying to do my job. I'm like, oh my god, do I ignore this? Do I ignore this? Do I ignore this? Oh my god, okay, fine. Like I'm so tired at this point. And then this is only like hour 3, and I go to her, and she's crying, and I'm like, hi, I'm clinical clerk Reg. Is there a problem? And then she's like, oh my god, it's so much. It's contracting. My stomach's contracting. I'm like, oh my gosh. So, and the thing to ask is, how many minutes are there between contractions already? Because when you're about to give birth, the minutes between contractions get less and less the closer you are to giving birth. So I ask her, okay, ma'am, like how many minutes before, like in between contractions is there? And she's like, not even 1 minute. I'm like, oh shit, she's about to give birth. And then I run to the resident on duty, because like these residents, they're also like understaffed. They're also like busy trying to do their own thing. So I'm like, ma'am, this lady out in the hallway is about to give birth, and she's like, oh shit. And she's in like, oh, and her baby's in like breech position. She needs to have like a cesarean section done. I'm like, okay. And then I thought I did my job. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go back to attempting to monitor everyone and get their vitals. But then the resident was like, okay, you like help me wheel this patient to the operating room. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess I'm just wheeling her to the operating room. And then I get there. I thought I could go back, and then the resident was like, okay, stay with the patient until the operating room is prepared. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess it's understaffed. Yeah, that's reasonable. And then the operating room gets prepared, and then the lady, and then the resident, and then I was like, okay, and then I helped the patient like transfer from her bed to the surgical bed, and then I thought, okay, they're applying the anesthesia. I think I can go. And then the resident tells me, okay, scrub in. What? I've never scrubbed into an operating room at before this. I've never scrubbed in. But then it's a resident. Like you can't just say no. It's a senior resident. I'm like, oh, okay. Plus, so I ended up being the main assist to a cesarean section, which was pretty cool. But then it took 3 hours. Um, I basically got Michael Cera into a cesarean section. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing here. And I was working with all this blood, and the whole time I was just thinking, I don't have my hepatitis B vaccine yet. And it was 3 hours after that. My feet and my back hurt. So as cool as it was, I could not wait for it to be over. It was very cool. So it was over after 3 hours. And then I'm like, okay, if I finally get to scrub out, I'm going to just blast through. I'm just going to attempt to get everyone's vitals again, just blast through it, and maybe I can get a chance to sit down. This was already like 1 in the morning of a 12-hour shift. My shift started at 7 p.m. I had not sat down at any point yet. I haven't even had time to pee. And then so I go back. I'm like, okay, let's do this. Literally the first patient whose vitals I was gonna get, she was like, it hurts, it hurts. I'm like, oh no, ma'am, how many minutes between contractions are there? It's not even 1 minute. It's 1 minute between contractions. I'm like, oh god. Yeah, and then at that point, a resident had already taught me how to do like an internal exam. Um, and this is what I'm wondering. I have no idea what they do without clerks because there's so many women who, yeah. So like in this case, so I do an internal exam, so I'm able to measure the cervical dilatation on my own. And then so I'm trying to see like, is she already at 8 centimeters, 9, 10? And then I'm like, okay, if she's at 10, she really needs to go to the birthing area already. She needs to start giving birth. She's really about to pop. So I put like my sterile gloves on and stick my fingers in, and I'm like, is there cervix closed? I can't. There's something blocking my fingers. Oh shit, that is the baby. That is the baby's head. She's literally about to pop. The baby's here. Oh god. Like this is even worse than
Huh. What's this?
I'm like, what is this? Like her
What's
cervix is
this?
closed. There's something wrong. Like
There's something here that seems very solid, almost
yeah,
like
this
a
it was
baby.
so solid. I'm like, oh shit, that's the
Oh my
baby.
God.
That is
Yeah.
the baby. And then I run to the resident again, and she's like, "Ma'am, that lady's about to give birth. The baby's head is literally there." And she's like, "Oh shit, okay." And then I'm like, "Oh no!" And then again, I get Mike. As I say, I get Michael Cera into another
How many
delivery.
deliveries is that?
This is already the second one within 3 hours.
And how many deliveries in total did you have to do?
In total that entire week, just
Yeah.
like 3 or 4, because then I gave the other deliveries to my group mates who needed the experience, but at least they were expecting it. The resident was like, okay, okay, wheel her into the birthing area. So she was just like this patient was only just like a normal vaginal delivery, no need for the operating room. So she goes there to the birthing area, she gets transferred to the birthing bed. And then the resident, who's like also super busy, she has so many other pregnant ladies to get to. She's like, okay, like, yeah, okay, put your surgical gloves on. I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna assist, be on standby. And she's like, okay, go deliver the baby. I'm like, what? What do you mean deliver the baby? And she was just like, don't worry, like the nurse will assist you. Like the nurse will tell you what to do. She'll just tell me what to do. She's like, yeah, just put your hands like this. Don't. And then she was like, and then as she was busy like doing other stuff, she was just like, don't drop the baby, okay? I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna do it on purpose. And then I'm there, the nurse told me, okay, just put your hands like this. And then like the baby's head pops up literally just as the woman was transferred to the birthing bed. I didn't have time. So my stethoscope and my sphygmomanometer, the thing you'd use to measure people's blood pressure, I didn't even have time to remove it. It was still they were still around my neck. And then I was like, so my fingers were wrapped around the baby's neck, and the nurse was just like, just pull it out. And I'm like, are you sure? Because there was some resistance. Those baby necks are very supple. I'm like, oh my gosh, I might decapitate this baby. I'm pulling really hard, and it's like I think he's stuck. The nurse is like, no, he's not stuck. Just pull. Oh, are you sure? And then I pull him out. I'm like, oh my! In my hands, I was like, oh my god, that is a baby. And then she's like, okay, here, lay him down on this towel. Okay. Oh my God, that was a baby. And as the baby popped out, by the way, the pregnant mom just sprayed amniotic fluid and I guess pee all over me. I'm like, oh well, I guess okay. And as I said, I still had all my stuff around my neck. So I had all of that. Like I had all of those fluids like on my stuff. So
Anyway,
after the
welcome to
birth,
the person who just came into the video right as Reg talked about
uh-huh,
all the spraying.
all the
And if you haven't
spraying.
read the description, Reg is talking about how she had to deliver a baby.
Yeah, I
So
had no
yeah,
idea I was
like
gonna deliver a baby. So and then like I delivered the placenta as well, and then
the story's
so
gonna
that was
gonna finish in
cool.
like 5 minutes, I think. So just like if you
Yeah,
didn't want to miss
no,
out on this talk,
I'm wrapping up, but yeah, like
yeah, no, no, no.
it's
I mean, I'm
like
not.
there
Don't
was
hurry wrapping up. I was just like, come back in maybe 5 to 10 minutes if you don't want to hear all the baby talk. That's all I'm saying.
yeah, yeah. So like there was so much I get like bodily fluids on me, but then I had to go back to monitoring again. So I removed my gloves, and then all the fluid are like on my stuff that was around my neck. So I had to go back to monitoring vitals, and then I had to use my stethoscope. I was like in my ears with all the fluid in them. I'm like, okay, this is my lot in life now.
No.
But there you go. That is the story of how I ended up not like being forced to deliver a baby.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
So,
and also that gives you an idea of the how what it's like in a public hospital.
yeah, that is it when I first heard that story, it was both like my like unimaginably funny and also like really enraging because it's like that's how understaffed all the public hospitals in the Philippines are. And I'm just like it recently I think there was like a what was it? There was like DSWD. You remember that? Did you see
Yeah,
that there was a news
yeah,
report
for
about
like
DSWD? They were like, "Oh, we're gonna give out like support for like people." Um, DSWD stands for Department of
wealth for social welfare development.
yeah, Department for Social Welfare Development, and the person who was like, "Oh, we're gonna give away some help to people who need it," did not anticipate the number of people who would need help, and I was like, "Are you stupid?" Because, like, a rough estimate. Obviously, this is not a real. This is not necessarily a scientific estimate, but it is very much an observed estimate. 90% of Filipinos are under the poverty line by any other metric in any other country. um like the percentage is much lower when you just like scale it down to Filipino standards, but literally that's not saying much. And so it was like it's so frustrating, like these are politicians and they're supposed to be making decisions for people, and it's like you don't even know.
Mhm.
You literally have
Yeah,
no clue.
they had no
So
clue, really,
yeah.
really.
And it's also like it's very recently in the Philippines, like all of the health organizations, like all the government health organizations have been under fire for stealing all the money. stealing all the COVID money. So it's like,
Mhm.
ah, it's annoying. Like it's not just annoying. Like there are people who need to like actually be punished for this, but nobody's getting punished.
I
So it's like,
know.
what happens? You know?
Absolutely.
Exactly. Like what
Yeah,
if
you
Reg
get
and other clerks weren't there?
exactly. Those were the and there were like a few other births in that one shift where I was the one who told the resident that they were about to give birth. I can just imagine the horror stories without clerks there. If I hadn't told the resident, there would have been like several women who had given birth then and there out in the hallway.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
it's crazy.
I'm pretty sure that's happened before
I
in that
bet.
hospital when there weren't clerks yet.
I've made this joke before, but it's not really a joke. The fact that in like all of the things that I write in Hainai is just baby garbage compared to like just real life in the Philippines.
Like actual like real life horror
Mhm.
out here.
Yeah, like that's why I enjoy horror, but like in the grand scheme of things, like whenever I see a horror thing and then I explain a reality in the Philippines, it's almost like it's like or tell a horror story,
It
it's
pales in
always worse.
comparison.
It's always so much worse and so much more horrific when I'm just saying a fact
Yeah.
about the Philippines.
Yep. Yep. The
That's how it goes.
fiction, our made up fiction, like our fiction about yeah, about monsters, like about monsters and supernatural ghosts that murder people, that that pales in comparison to like the actual murderers and situations here in the Philippines.
Baby garbage. Anyway,
It's
I always like to say baby garbage, but anyway, so yeah, so after that fun and thrilling tale, it would be. Wait a minute. How did we suddenly get 17 viewers? Hmm. Welcome, 17 viewers. I don't know where you come from, but welcome. We just finished the story of how Reg had to deliver a bunch of babies.
Deliver a
Uh,
baby. If you missed it, this don't worry. This episode will be up on YouTube, so you can
yeah,
listen to the whole riveting tale there.
you can relive the horror of
You can
Reg being
relive the
Michael Sarah
horror.
into delivering a
I was
baby.
Michael Sarah into delivering a baby. I was
God,
forced. It really is Michael Cera, like just
yeah,
walking on, like just walk into a situation and be like, "Guess I'm. This is what I'm doing now.
yeah. I guess this is my life now. God.
This is my life now."
Oh my goodness. But yeah, so anyway, now that we have gotten through that part of the stream, and thank you so much, Reg, for telling us the story because Reg has been through it. Reg has
That
been through
was
it.
Yeah, that was
Um,
1 week. That was just one shift, by the way. That was my first shift out of
yeah,
like a week
of
long rotation
clerkship.
in this public
Good
hospital.
God.
Yep, that
Anyway,
was a
so
12-hour shift. Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah. So
normally in my usual hospital, we do 24-hour shifts, but you get a day off every 2 days for 2 days after.
mhm,
Um so but then those 24 hours there the exhaustion there is nothing compared to the 12-hour exhaustions per shift I did in the public hospital.
mhm.
So there really needs to be some work, guys. Like public hospitals, they need more funding, they need more staff,
Yeah,
they
and
need
I
more
mean,
help.
I guess a lot of the funding is there, but it's just being stolen.
That's true. That's actually
What's his
very
name? Duque?
true.
What's the name? We have to like call him out. What's the name of the
Yeah,
guy who was like central to
the
the
secretary for the Department of Health. Yeah,
Duque?
it's
You
Duque.
motherfucker. Anyway, so
Mm.
so yeah, now we're gonna talk about
Yeah.
horror stuff. And I mentioned it before at the beginning of the stream, but we will talk about like different horror media, and some of the ones have been suggested by our listeners, by our people on social media. And we shall start, but first we'll start with the one that like kicked off our like hot takes, which is Midnight Mass. So Midnight Mass is a very popular Netflix series and about it's a horror series by Mike Flanagan, who has done stuff like Haunting at Hill House and Bly Manor. Very good stuff. In general, I haven't watched Bly Manor, but in general, like I like Mike Flanagan stuff. I believe he also did. what was the movie that he did? He did
Doctor
some
Sleep. That's
Doctor. Oh, I
so
love
freaking
Doctor
cool.
Sleep.
I love Doctor Sleep.
And there
I
was
think
one
it's a
with a
little underrated.
yeah, it's super underrated. And there was one that was like about butterflies or something. It was like a much older Mike Flanagan title, but I can look it up later. But yeah, in general, I like his stuff. Midnight Mass, on the other hand, we had some takes.
We had
We
some takes.
like
I remember the moment, like when Motzi, I remember like after we finished the show. So like for those who don't know, I live in the Philippines. Motzi lives in Canada. So
Mhm.
after the show, we had to have a call, and then we were just talking for an hour about all the hot takes on Midnight Mass.
God, that was so funny.
And we were both
So
so relieved because it's such a well loved show.
yeah,
And there
no,
are good
that's the
things about
thing.
it. It's such a well-loved show. And then like when we started ranting, we were still a little shy about the ranting at first because we didn't know if like how the other
The
person
other one liked
felt. But
it.
then when it was
Yeah.
obvious we were like on the same wavelength.
Same
Like it was
page.
such a relief. Like, yeah,
It was
someone
so funny.
understands.
It was so funny. So
Like
here's what
I am
happened.
so happy you agree.
So it's not that so Midnight Mass is not bad. First of all, we have to get that out of the way. It's actually quite good. However, we did have a lot of hot takes. And what was the
Yeah.
biggest one that we
I
had,
will say
Reg?
it's still the finale is still one of my favorite
Yeah, the finale is
TV
excellent.
finales. It's
For
beautiful.
sure.
I love it.
Yeah. What was
But
our
then the
first?
things
I
that you
remember
don't
one
choose.
of our hot takes, but I don't remember the other one. Reg?
Well, we can start with that one hot take.
Okay. So the one hot take I had is actually that it's not even a hot take. It was like an unfortunate thing that I realized as you were watching it. So spoilers for
Uh-huh.
Midnight Mass. Spoilers, get that out of the way. Spoilers for Midnight Mass about vampires. It's about vampires. It's presented in a really fun way, but it's still about vampires. And what happened was when they first reveal the creature from Midnight Mass, my immediate thought, and this is like did not leave me for the rest of the series, was that oh my god, it's Peter from What We Do in the Shadows. So if you have watched
That's
What We Do in the
literally him.
Shadows,
If you see what he
there's
looks like.
there's a character named Peter who is like their basement dwelling ancient vampire roommate. And What We Do in the Shadows is a comedy. So as soon as we saw the creature, which is based on like really classic Nosferatu style vampires, we were like, oh, it's Peter. He's on a holiday. And ever since then, we just could not take the monster seriously, ever. Like the entire time, we were like, this is just what we do in the shadows. Like Peter just went on vacation.
Yeah,
he,
pretty much.
he went to this island and just messed
Yeah.
around.
Yeah. And on my end, so and this is very ironic considering I work on a horror podcast. I'm baby when it comes to horror.
Mhm.
I can never watch anything horror alone.
Mhm.
So and then I was so Midnight Mass was gonna be my achievement. It was gonna be like, okay, this is when I'm gonna start. Okay, this is like the very first horror thing I'm gonna watch alone. I'm not kidding. This is literally the first horror TV show or movie anything other than podcasts. So podcasts I can listen to on my own, like horror podcasts.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
so this would have been the first TV show or movie that I would have watched alone on my own. So it was gonna be my achievement. I was so proud of it. And then I guess there was like in the second episode, at the end there was I guess like 2 minutes of scariness when you don't know what the monster is yet. But then after that, they start revealing the monster more and more, and I'm like, this is a fucking vampire.
Yeah,
This is a
it's
vampire.
vampire. It's
Yeah, and
oh god, it's
when
so
you
funny.
watched all 8 seasons of Vampire Diaries,
That's true.
this
You
is
did
not
mention that.
this is very difficult. Yeah, this is
Mhm.
yeah, no, the mystery's lost, guys. And then they reveal the monster. I'm like, yeah, no, this Peter looking dude did not help. So like
It's what it is.
the one thing that still could have made it scary. There was one more thing that still could have made it scary, like if they did the main vampire monster, if they made him look like really scary. But then he came out, I'm like, oh, well.
Oh well, oh well.
So
But yeah,
not
I
only
mean,
like I
like,
watched Vampire Diaries and the dude looked like Peter, So I'm like, yeah,
From
nope.
What We Do in the Shadows. Yeah, yeah. But also like
And it's even
another
funnier
thing.
that they shy away from the term, by the way.
Yeah, they're like,
The
oh,
whole
can't say it's
time
a
I'm like,
vampire. It's like
yeah, they I don't know what they call it, but then the in for the entire show afterwards, I was just like, don't be shy. You can say
don't be
vampire.
shy. You can say vampire. But also
Just
the
say
other
it.
thing is, and this is I remember people saying this. They were like, "Oh, this is so creepy because of the religiousness aspect." And we are like, "We're Filipinos. We grew up Catholic. This is just whatever." It's so
Like
hilarious because
like
everyone's like,
religion is
"Yo,
what
it's
our
so
horror is made of.
creepy." Exactly. It's like, "Oh, it's so creepy. Everyone was acting so weird. Everyone was acting so unreasonably." And I'm like, okay. It's like, yeah, sure. Everyone's acting
Mhm,
very oddly. That's not just
right?
our life. That's not just living in the
Yeah, so
Philippines
a lot of
in the Catholic community.
yeah, also a lot of what was meant to be the horror aspect, it was just so lost on us. I mean, it's not lost. We
Yeah.
understand what they were trying to do, but it was like
It wasn't yeah, it
it
wasn't
just slid over
scary.
us.
It
Yeah, it
was
just
very
slid over
cute.
us like water on a duck.
Yeah, it was
It was
very
very
cute.
cute.
Oh,
It
what
was
about
very
the
cute.
protagonist?
Okay,
So
so this is like another hot take. So again, like another thing that people really like about this are the dialogues.
wait,
So
what was the
they
dialogue
are
we both laughed at? What was it? I'm
so
trying to
they are
remember.
so oh my gosh, yeah, we laughed at one of them. But oh my gosh, yeah, like a lot of the so a thing that this show does, like one of its gimmicks is like they have like really long
Oh yeah.
dialogues, like really long,
Yeah.
profound, philosophical dialogues. Like a lot of the show is really just dialogues and monologues. Actually, it's
Monologues,
basically like
yeah.
monologues, and then it gets to a point where it becomes like a little ridiculous. So like,
Yeah.
and one of the dialogues is like, I mean they're beautiful, but but they seem so yeah, like sometimes it gets ridiculous, like a baby, like a mom literally. So like like I think like the ridiculousness like reached a peak when the protagonist was talking to like his childhood friend who lost her baby, and
Oh
she was like
yeah.
really distraught about it. Yeah, and she was like, yeah, and she was really distraught about it. So she's talking about like what it feels like to lose her baby. She had like a supernatural miscarriage. And then the protagonist starts going into a monologue.
About wasn't
He
it
starts,
something
I
like
forgot what
about
he talked.
I think he made it about himself, and that was the moment where I was just like,
He made it about himself and about death. And I'm like, really?
yeah, it's
On
so
its own, like
bizarre.
the language was beautiful. It
Yeah,
was
the
so
monologue itself.
bizarre. Like,
The
what?
monologue itself was fine, but then like in response to a woman having a miscarriage over a baby she wanted, it's like so insane. It is like the most insane moment. And I was
Like,
just like,
that
what
was
is wrong
wild.
with you? Like literally, what the hell is wrong with you, sir? It was oh god, it was so inhuman. And here's the thing, I like monologues in shows. I really like Hannibal. Hannibal's super fun. But somehow they achieved a thing where almost every if not every like monologue they had fit the scene because there's like a dreamlike quality to everything, whereas this woman has a
Yeah.
really deep moment about losing her child that she wanted, and then it's like, ah, let me make this about me. And I'm just like, and then when he dies it's just the
Let's
funniest
like
shit
let's
ever. I'm
make
just like,
this
when he dies early.
long-winded monologue. Okay, that's another thing, right? Like, so that's like I think that was our main hot take. So the protagonist, and I'm so sad because the actor, he's from Friday Night Lights, who I
Mhm,
love, and like which is a show I really love, and honestly,
mhm.
basically he plays the same character,
Okay.
just more sad. So
Mhm,
that's a thing. That's another hot take we had. So this protagonist, so he moved. So his thing is that he moves back. He moves back to this really small town situated on an island after he gets out of jail for drunk driving, where he kills like a where he kills like a victim like in another car. So that's like his cross to bear. So he's like
Mhm.
super guilty about that. And then like all his speeches are about that and like about guilt and about like finding purpose in life. And yeah, that's his whole thing. He's sober. He's like how many years sober now ever since the accident and everything. And and then like I don't know, not I don't think like even halfway into the show. So like he's the main protagonist, and then he gets turned into a vampire because I forgot how. Like I think he catches like it's the priest. Again, like spoilers, it's the priest who brings the Peter Nostradamus looking oh not
Nosferatu, yeah.
not Nostradamus, Nosferatu. Nosferatu looking vampire to the island because he wants to keep drinking its blood so he could be immortal. So it's the priest who does that, and then the protagonist catches the priest. So and then the priest turns him into another vampire. So and then you're like, oh, finally, like stuff is gonna happen. Like stuff is finally gonna happen. They're not just gonna talk anymore. So this protagonist got turned into a vampire. What's he gonna do with that? And then he kills himself.
Yeah, he
He
just
lets himself
straight up
burn in the
dies.
sun. He has
Yeah,
one more dialogue. He has one more monologue with his friend who lost her baby. Yeah, he brings her out like onto a boat, and like they go out to sea, and then like the sun comes out and he's dead, and you're like, what the heck?
it's so
He did
bizarre. It's like he was completely pointless. He
it
traumatized
was
his
so
friend,
pointless.
and it was his. I think it was like even his girlfriend or something. He traumatized her, and
Oh,
it's
his
just and the rest
ex-girlfriend,
of
I
the
think.
yeah, his ex girlfriend, and the rest of the time they're just like everyone else is more useful than he ever was, and it's just the most hilarious thing, like meta wise. I
It's
was just
so
like,
like they did his character so dirty. I had no idea what his point was. He had so many monologues about
yeah,
like finding purpose. Yeah, he had so many monologues about finding purpose and getting over his guilt.
yeah,
And I'm like yeah, and then he just dies. And then like I
it's so
remember
funny,
like
so funny,
as he burns in the sun, there's like this scene showing like the car crash victim.
and him,
So
yeah,
he sees her ghost, and she like forgives him, and it's like such a sweet moment. But I'm like, what did he do?
yeah.
How like he finds peace finally, and I'm like, why does he find peace?
Yeah, it's so
He hasn't
weird.
done anything.
And it's like
And
the
it was
most
just
comedic moment where it's like, oh, he's having this peaceful moment with this car crash victim who he killed, and then like it jump cuts right
it
into
cuts to
his yeah, his friend screaming like ah! Like screaming as he's
yeah,
burning
because he
alive.
was burning in the sun. Yeah,
So funny.
it was the cut was funny, but it was also sad. But it was also like
It was so yeah, but like overall, okay.
he finds
Here's the
peace,
thing.
and it's like that wasn't justified. I don't
Yeah, it wasn't
understand.
justified. His writing was very weird. Other than that, though, I mean, I really enjoyed Midnight Mass. I really liked the ending and the setup. There were bits in the middle that were a little rough, but overall, I thought it was really fun. It was really like intriguing. I found it really interesting. I found like all the characters compelling and well acted. It is just like there is just such an unbelievably hilarious like aspect to it that a lot of people weren't talking
Yeah,
about.
it
Me and
was
Reg
just
were just like
bizarre.
having that hot take exchange. You're just like, what the fuck is this? But okay, but
Yeah,
Midnight
because
Mass
in
is
the
good.
end, like in the end, all their dialogues and monologues ended up becoming meaningless.
Exactly. It's like
But
I don't know, like Midnight Mass overall was very good, but those aspects just baffled us so much that we had to like really
yeah,
get into like our hot takes. But yeah, anyway, we've spent too much time on Midnight Mass. We will get into the other things you wanted us to talk about. So, here, Reg, I will mention some of the things in order. Well, not in order, but I'll mention some of the things. I will just quickly mention there is from Listening Boy on Tumblr. There's an indie called Livestream. Unfortunately, we've never heard of Livestream, but if we have time, we might give like a very quick listen to like a sample or something. But we just wanted to call that out, Livestream. And somebody gave a list on Tumblr as well. So there are some horror shows. We will start with their shows, not the films. So there's Saw, the series, which I haven't watched. Chucky, the series, which I also haven't watched, but I have heard one thing about it. Fear Street, which we did watch, was great. Stranger Things, Bird Box, Rocky Horror Picture Show. So I just want to mention Chucky because I have not watched it. I have
I
heard,
haven't watched Chucky either.
but I don't know if you've heard about the one meme that came from that show.
There are a bunch of memes of Chucky.
I guess so. Like there's so the one I heard. So I hear it's fun. I don't like what I've heard from other people is that it's not good, but it's not bad. There's something like really like really fun about it, like something very B movie fun. And I don't know if that's super accurate because I haven't watched it, but it does seem like people generally like it. Whether it's good or bad is like,
Mhm.
but people like it. But the one thing I heard from Chucky is like just Chucky saying the words gender fluid, and that's all. It's like he was talking to
I
a
have
young,
seen that one.
yeah, it's just a young queer person describing his child, and it's like he's like my child is gender fluid, and the way he says it is just stuck. That's all I know. I can't say anything else. But Chucky has always been a little silly. So I think like that's kind of I think it probably achieved what it needed to, but we haven't watched it, so we can't say much about
Yeah,
it. Um, oh, the Fear
yeah.
Street. Fear Street's technically a series of movies. Chucky's an ally. Said Foxy.
Chucky is an ally.
Yes, Chucky's
Yes.
an ally. Gender fluid. So,
Mhm.
Fear Street. It was a
I
thing.
haven't watched Fear Street.
Ooh, I have watched Fear Street. I loved it. Fear Street is not necessarily. It
Yeah, I
wasn't a
do know you really
series.
like it.
It was like a set of three movies that were like back to back.
Yeah,
I believe, yeah, it was
released on
90s.
Netflix.
Yeah, it was released on Netflix. I really like it. It's not perfect. Like there are some flaws, but overall it's like really well done horror and I really really enjoyed it. It's very queer. I really liked how they portrayed the characters. I believe the one like big overall negative thing about it, I guess, is just having all of these American actors do British accents. It was very funny because they went all the way back to
Yeah.
1888, I believe it was, and they had that thing
Uh-huh.
where that Black Mirror thing where they have the same people playing different characters. Is it Black Mirror? It was something else, but
Yeah.
yeah, like and and yeah, having them all do their best approximation of a British accent, very funny. But
Yeah.
overall, very good story. Very thematically strong and very well done. Um, original Evil Dead versus the remake from Kirsten on YouTube. Um, hmm, I
Oh,
have
I have
not.
not watched the original Evil Dead. I
You
haven't
watched the
watched the
remake?
TV show remake, I think, but I have watched the movie.
Ooh, how is the new movie? I haven't. So I've seen what how the way I consume horror is through YouTube videos talking about horror movies, which is not the best way
Yeah,
to do it, but it is still like how I get a lot of the story.
yeah.
That's
I
all I
watched
know.
Evil Dead in 2013. That's the 2013 movie.
Hmm.
Um I don't really remember much of it. I just remember, like, when the chainsaw came out, okay, that's cool. That's pretty cool. And,
Okay,
like
okay.
that, I think we remember it was in the trailer. Like, I think that's like, it's one of its more signature clips, like
Yeah, the chainsaw.
the clip of the, like, monster ghost thing, and that she's like trapped in the cellar,
Hmm.
and there's like a cellar door, and it can only open like partly because they chained it
Oh
down, and then like,
yeah, and like her head pops
yeah,
up.
and then like you see her like yeah, exactly, like you see her like looking through it and trying to get, yeah, and then she's saying something and it's all creepy. I think, yeah,
Yeah,
I thought like I think I remember like the horror visuals and imagery like being good, so that one was a good one
yeah. It's one of the most
with the,
iconic
yeah.
image-wise too. I believe I did watch at one point one of those just clips on YouTube. I watched the opening scene of that movie, and it was properly creepy. Like it was properly scary, very harrowing.
Yeah,
Because
yeah, I
again,
do I also
spoilers.
remember the opening.
Spoilers for Evil Dead, the
Yeah,
remake, 2013, I believe.
yeah,
Basically,
2013.
the opening, it shows like this family hunting down this terrified girl, and like this girl is like she's
No,
like a
yeah, she was
teenager or like
already
young
caught. She was
woman.
already caught in the
Yeah,
opening.
no,
She
but
was
like
already
so
tied
what
to a
happened was
post.
she escaped briefly and they hunted her down. If I remember correctly, it's been a while. But yeah, like it was super harrowing. It was like basically you are terrified for this protagonist in your mind, this protagonist.
the
And
little
then like the
girl.
entire they hold on to that like that facade for a very long time. They're like, oh crap, like
Yeah,
this
and
girl
the
is
girl
gonna
is
get
like, "Daddy, what
victimized.
are you doing to me? Like, please
Mhm.
let me go." And then you see the dad and like this priest. They're doing like,
I think
they're
like burn
holding
her
like
alive, I
religious,
believe.
like they're holding like religious items, and you think, and then you think like, oh, they're religious nuts, like, oh, they're
Mhm.
extremists, right?
Yeah, and then
So yeah,
until
you
the
feel
very
for
last
this little
moment. Hmm.
yeah, when the girl suddenly like when the girl suddenly like says to her dad like, "Daddy, please let me go. Daddy, I'm going to eat your fucking soul." She says
Yeah,
that like,
it's
"Oh,
super
what is
great.
happening?
Yeah,
I'm
and then
going
you
to eat
realize that
your
they were right the
soul
whole
and
time.
shit it out." And then like yeah, like she starts becoming like more demony and devil-y and
Hmm.
evil, and you're and yeah, so now you see like, oh shit. I think that was well done.
I
That
think
was
so
pretty cool,
too.
I think.
I know it's stylish. I don't know the quality of the movie overall, but I know it's like very stylish, very iconic. I think the original one was more of a horror comedy or like a horror action, but the new one is like more
Something like
horror.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, something like
Yeah,
that.
and there is a remake, I think.
Series?
Um, yeah, a series on
I
Netflix.
haven't watched that one. But yeah,
Yeah, featuring the
so
original actor, I think.
ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Bird Box. You oh, wait, first, Stranger Things first. I have not kept up with
Stranger
Stranger
Things. Have you watched the latest season?
I've only watched the first two seasons and I stopped. I believe it was
Okay,
exactly at the
so
moment where Eleven went on a road trip, and then I just stopped completely. So you talk about Stranger Things because I don't know
yeah,
shit anymore.
that is people's not favorite like that always ends up people's being least favorite aspect of the show when she goes into a road trip.
Mhm.
So do you
Yeah,
care about spoilers
I do
since we're
not. But
here?
here, okay, Stranger Things spoilers. Tell me it very quickly, like rapid fire. Every single major spoiler in the Stranger Things. Tell me what happened to my favorite characters. If I haven't, I don't have any. Hopper. That's it.
Actually, the main characters are still alive, but then there is a character who his in the latest season. His name is Eddie. He became my favorite from his very first scene. And you know, Stranger Things did that thing where they introduced like a very lovable character, and then they killed him. And you kind of expect, okay. So like when Stranger Things season 4 came out, I had like exams, so I couldn't watch it
Mhm.
immediately. But then like the spoilers were so insane. Like, and I think I'm pretty good at avoiding spoilers, but man, not even my skills could save me. So like I knew Eddie was gonna die. Um, like I knew Eddie was gonna die. So this very lovable character. So his thing is that he gets blamed for the death of another student. And he's like this punk rock dude who likes to play Dungeons and Dragons. He's like a senior. Yeah, he's like a senior in high school, so he's like a little older. So he joins um the teenager crowd. So you know how in Stranger Things there's the kids, there's the teens, and there's the adults. So he's part of the teens. Um, well, I guess now they're all teens, but anyway. Yeah, and so I'm bracing myself for when he dies, and I'm expecting like, and then like you know how they release the last two episodes like later than all the other episodes. So they released like a bunch of trailers prior to that, and the trailers are so cool. Um, and you're expecting something epic, and then you see like glimpses of Eddie like playing guitar and like the upside down, and you think like, oh my gosh, he's gonna do something heroic, and that sacrifice his life, and he kind of does that, and that's how he dies. But then I was like, was that really necessary?
They just did it just because.
Like he didn't need to die. What the fuck? So this is how it goes. So like in the epic finale, they have this whole plan where three of them. So that's the original Steve, Robin, Nancy. Robin who only comes in the third. Robin only comes in the third season, but people already love her. So like those three they have to go to like the main villain's lair. To main villain's lair in the upside down while he's this being distracted by the kids in the not upside down, I guess the right side up,
The right
I
side up.
guess if you will.
The real world.
in the real world. So that's their thing. But then his lair, this mansion, it's being guarded by like these yeah, these like giant bat things who like chew and chomp at you and bite at you when they like when they attack you. So like these giant bats, and then like it's a whole, what do you call it? Like a flock? No, what do you call it for bats? Colony?
Swarm? No. Colony? Yeah, I guess, I
Swarm.
don't
It's
know. A
basically
bunch. A
their
bunch.
entire.
Bunch of
Yeah, yeah,
them.
yeah. Yeah, that's a good word for it. Like it's a swarm. So yeah, so and then Eddie's thing, Eddie plus Dustin, yeah, that's one of the kids. So their thing is that they're going to distract them. So the bats leave the lair when Eddie starts playing Led Zeppelin on his guitar. Oh no, Metallica, sorry, Metallica on electric guitar, like on speaker, like on full blast to um to get the bats to leave the lair. So that's the thing. And you're expecting like, oh, maybe he's gonna like, oh, maybe like Dustin gets in trouble and then Eddie like sacrifices himself for him. No, that's not what happens. What happens is like the bats are already there. They're already like attacking like their fortress thing. It's like a trailer, like a or like a camper van. And then the thing is there is like an opening or like a doorway back into the real world. It's right there. So Dustin goes
He doesn't
through,
go through it.
and then Eddie is like, yeah, he doesn't go through it. And then Dustin is like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm gonna buy them more time. And then he blocks the entrance, the doorway, and then he runs out of the camper van, and then like gets on a bike, and then like leads the bats like away some more. And then yeah, and then the bats catch up to him. They swarm over him, and then they kill him. And then like he dies in Dustin's arm. Like Dustin gets to him, and he dies in his arms, and he's like. And he was like, I didn't run away, right? I died a hero or something like that. I didn't run away this time, because that's his whole thing. He's always like running away from things. And this time he's like, I didn't run away. And Dustin was like, yeah, you look good. And I'm like, number one, the bats were already distracted. You did.
He should have.
Like
He
they
should
were
have done exactly that. Mhm.
the bats were already distracted. Like you did your job. The job is done. Like the three people who need to get into the lair are already inside. They're already inside. There was no like they already got into the lair. And then what? So what do you need to buy them more time for? This is
You know, Reg, I have
insane.
an answer for
They
you.
didn't
I have an
need to
answer for you.
die.
I have
What?
an answer for you. They didn't want to. They didn't want to pay him for another season.
Exactly. That's the thing. They'd be like, but they honestly like they could have done something else. They could have made it so like Dustin was actually in trouble and he needed to actually like choose between saving his life and saving someone else's life. There wasn't
That's
a
true.
choice. This was like, what is this? Like honestly, like honestly, like I think he's secretly a millennial, because you know how the millennials are always like,
So I'll
oh,
just
I want to
die.
die already. Just like I'm just
Yeah.
gonna die. That's what it
Well,
seemed
just
like. I'm like, you didn't need to
guess I'll
die.
die.
I'm so annoyed. Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my god.
that's honestly what it felt like. It was like, guess I'll die. And
Guess I'll
and
die.
it does a
Oh wait.
disservice. It does him a disservice because in the end, the sacrifice becomes like ingenuine. So now it feels like he does it for the clout, basically. He does it for the sake of being a hero
That is
rather
for
than as
TikTok.
something actual noble and heroic, like saving someone's life. He does it so he can just say, yeah, I died a hero, rather than like something genuine. So basically he died for the clout.
Oh my god, that's really good. But
So
yeah,
that is
okay.
my
So another
main
another one.
hot take.
Yeah. Okay. So wait, give me a sec, Reg. I just need to make sure that everything's like connected properly. Yeah, check your messages real quick. I just need to make sure that things are like running
Oh,
smoothly.
sorry.
How's everyone doing in the chat? Please make sure that let us know if there are any issues like audio and video wise. But otherwise, okay. So we're getting back into the next ones. I'll just go through these kind of quickly. There's Bird Box and there's Rocky Horror Picture Show. Um, uh, Reg, what do you think of Bird Box, real quick? Just a really quick
Oh,
like
Bird
update on.
Box. Wait, is my audio better?
I talk a little more. I think it's like it comes in when it's a little too like when it's peaking, but I'm not 100% sure. I could try like lowering you as
Okay.
well. How's this? Yeah. How yeah, so like
Okay.
Bird Box, what do you think?
Yeah. Bird Box. It. I mean, it's enjoyable, but then I don't know if you watch this. It's called The Happening by M Night
Yeah.
Shyamalan.
Yes, 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 yes.
It just
The
felt
the
like
plants one?
The Happening, just a little more competently done.
Yeah, oh my god, you're right.
I
That's
don't
the thing.
want to say M Night
It's a
Shyamalan is
better The
incompetent.
Happening. So it's a better The Happening and it's a worse A Quiet Place. You know? It is
It's a
like a
worse
much
A
better.
Quiet Place. It's a better The Happening. It's like it's
Yeah.
right in between.
I feel like it's closer it's better than The Happening, but it's much worse than The Quiet Place in my opinion. I don't know. That's just me though.
Yeah, it
Uh,
was it was it was entertaining.
Yeah, it was entertaining. It was fine. It was like Netflix level, which is like not the greatest, but not the worst. Thoroughly entertaining and well, like okay done. Is how it's. Um,
Yeah, Sandy Bullock did a good job.
yeah, it was like more of a
Um,
meme than it was like I don't know. It wasn't amazing, but it wasn't bad.
it was
I
more of
can't
a
call it bad.
meme, especially like the eyes,
Yeah,
like
exactly,
getting their eyes open. Like it became, unfortunately for them, it just became like a very well used meme.
exactly. Have you ever been to a Rocky Horror Picture Show showing?
I have not. I'm so
I have not
sad.
either. However, I did go to a Rocky Horror Picture esque event, and it rather than for Halloween, this was for Christmas, and it was for the cats, and they called it the Jellicle Ball, and it was basically Rocky Horror Picture Show with the Cats 2019. It was everyone singing the songs, everyone doing burlesque acts on stage. It was the Rocky Horror Picture Show experience without Rocky Horror Picture Show, and that's all I can say. However, I love the music. Tim Curry is iconic. I have watched the movie on my own. I just have not had the
Same. I have
experience,
watched the movie.
Yeah, I love it. I love
Yeah.
how it is schlock. Like it is like perfect, beautiful, campy schlock in such a way like I don't know, like there was something so like wonderful about it. Like literally just
About the cats, Rocky Horror, as a whole, but
the
about
cats.
Rocky Horror
The-
cats.
There was just like no the couple like a well-to-do like a couple goes to a haunted house and gets seduced by like an alien. I'm just like, I love it actually. I love it. But yeah, like
I
I have
do love
memorized
it.
most of the
It's
songs.
it is batshit insane. I
It
love it.
is God and Tim Curry perfect throughout. It's art. It's high art. It's low art. It's high art. Okay, now we're going into games. Oh my gosh! So this is part of the list. Quickly, Until Dawn. Have you played/watched played? That's how you do it. Of Until Dawn.
No, I haven't. Again, I'm fucking baby.
Yeah, Undawn is
Literally,
interesting
the I think
because
the only like horror game I've played like through and through was The Last of Us and the sequel, The Last of Us 2.
mhm,
But I've told this to like Motzi knows this. I didn't know it would be a zombie game.
you just kind of got into it and you couldn't get out.
And
That's fair enough.
and Motzi like zombie like the zombie genre is one of the most stressful genres for me. I need to be among friends if I have to watch one. If I know it's like a really well reviewed one. It's like or like one of the more popular ones to watch. I have to be among friends. I have to be in the right mindset. So I go into The Last of Us. I think it's just like I'm like my only idea of it is that it's post apocalyptic. It's about like a found family. So before this, I didn't like watching video game trailers because I was like, I don't want to I like going into the game not knowing what to expect. Well, there you go. That just bit me in the ass because when the zombies started coming out, and the zombies started coming out. I was like, oh my god, why are there zombies? Oh my god, this is a zombie game.
Well, you're
Oh
in it now.
god,
Well,
I'm in it
guess we're in it
now.
now.
But then, yeah, it does speak to how good the opening sequence of The Last of Us is, because I genuinely
Did
considered
not
like
know.
just dropping the game, because I am not kidding. I get so stressed out, but the opening sequence is so good. I was like, I have to continue. I have to continue playing the game. And the
Mhm.
first game was so good that I ended up also playing the sequel.
Yeah.
But I never played. I always like I owe so much to my younger brother. Literally every time I wanted to play, I would just be like, "Hey, can you sit with me and watch
Can you
me
sit
play The
beside
Last of Us?"
me?
And he
Fair
would.
enough,
He
though.
would. He actually like sat through like my whole entire playthrough,
That's good. That's good.
like
I'm
the
so glad.
first game and the sequel.
Oh my
Like
god.
yeah, I would just be like, hey, do you want to watch me play The Last of Us? I'm too baby to play this on my own, but I need to keep playing. So that's how stress. So games. That is literally the only horror video game I've played through and through. Motzi forced me one time to play Outlast. I lasted like 10 seconds.
I mean, listen, when I tried to play Outlast, it was at night and I gave up too, so no problem. It's scarier than I remember. But yeah, so here's another one. You mentioned Last of Us. Doki Doki Literature Club. I have absolutely watched a playthrough of Doki Doki Literature Club. It's wild. I mean, it's unique. Like, it was unique when it came out. I think the best part about it is the similar thing to Blair Witch Project. It held on to its premise very well. I think that's what it was. Like, overall, it's very like it holds on to the bog standard like dating game fit aspect very well. And like, people, like, it's one of those things.
Yeah,
Once the spoiler is done, it's kind of done. I guess it's well done. It's very unique. I think it did a good job. Otherwise, like, there's not much to say about it. It's Doki Doki Literature Club. It's
yeah.
shock horror that's pretty well done, and
Shock.
that's it. That's all I can say.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
pretty cool premise.
mhm.
Like I haven't played it either. I just know the premise. That spoilers. Like you go into it thinking it's like a regular dating sim, and then it ends up being like psychological horror.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, but
It's
I haven't played it. I have been
mhm.
curious, but
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Like, you can watch people play it. I think that it's fun to watch people play it, but then after one time, it's kind of not something you replay. I think it shows a lot of really interesting aspects of like how you can code things, because I think it went into the code. It's very similar to Undertale, I believe it was.
yeah.
It's like the coding was pretty interesting. But other than that, yeah. So, some of the games that they mentioned include Toga Inu no Chi and Sweet Pool. I've never heard of those, unfortunately, so I can't speak to them. There is another thing that I want to. Okay. He Waxy says, I'd like to play Doki Doki Literature Club as a regular dating sim. There's this poem mini game that's kind of fun.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, like, it really does, like, basically is it's a proper dating sim. It's not just a facade. And
Yeah.
then some games that Kristen mentions,
Oh,
ID,
yeah.
Mad Father, and The Witch House. I've never heard of those either, unfortunately. So many horror games, so
I'm
many good
sorry,
ones.
neither have I.
Mhm.
Oh, but Motzi, like I do remember like one of your ideas for like a dating sim, like a horror dating sim. Like yeah, tell us about it. Like I think it's a really cool idea and I'd love to
Oh,
see
hell
this
yeah.
developed one day.
Oh my god, I would love to as well.
A monster
But
dating
I
sim.
don't know it. So I wanted to do a monster dating sim, but not just a monster dating sim. I want the first half of the game to be a proper survival horror. And like, where you encounter monsters and ensure that they do not aggro you before it turns into a
Yeah,
dating sim. I want it to be, it's either
the
that
way to beat
or
the game. You
yeah,
have to figure
exactly.
out that you have to date them.
Exactly. Like, the first half is like properly terrifying, like they will actually kill you. There's like a it's a whole thing. And in fact, like, my other pitch for this was not necessarily just a survival horror, but like a Souls, like, in which you have to defeat them as bosses. and then date them afterwards when you've like collected more backstory to them. And I think that's really I want. That's my ideal game. I want like a proper scary game with souls like or survival horror mechanics where you either fight them as bosses or you avoid them as bosses, whichever works for the game. And then you gather like information about the game, lore about the game, because I love lore in video games.
Yeah.
And then you start trying to date them. You gather gifts, you gather like information about them, you like talk to them about their pasts and their feelings. Because that's how I interact with like a lot of this media. So that's my ideal game. But anyway, another thing that was mentioned, so we mentioned like a bunch of the
It's so
games we
cool though.
don't know.
I would love to see that.
Honestly, it's a good idea. I people have told me it's a good idea. But
It is
genuinely,
a good
like,
idea. I
yeah,
would love to see that. It's like the anti Doki Doki Literature Club.
exactly. It's not a dating sim that becomes a horror game. It's a horror game that becomes a
Game that
dating
becomes a
sim.
dating sim. I
It
love
would be
it. I
so
really love
good.
it. I really hope it becomes. I really hope it like it becomes what's the word realized one day.
Yeah, honestly,
I
I
would
would love
love
to
to
see
see
it.
it.
And it
Someone
would be
fund this
fun.
game. Fund
Yeah,
this
some please
game.
someone fund this. I'm proud. Maybe I will like actually pitch it somewhere. But genuinely, like, and it could be like even not necessarily a Souls like, but more like, those survival horror games where you do have mechanics that are that are fighting, but it like rides on the aspect of horror. So like something coming out of the dark, something that like keeps your blood pumping in a horror way. You know what I mean? Like there's an aspect that it's kind
Yeah.
of like I don't know.
Yeah.
It'll be fun that way, I think. But who knows? Anyway, another thing that was mentioned, and I think it's a fun idea. Have you ever heard of the back rooms, Reg?
The YouTube video?
Yes, the YouTube video. Have I ever shown it to you?
I think you have, yeah. Like and it's a first person view of this guy like running through like bizarrely empty hallways, I think.
Yeah, so we described it briefly, like it's kind of like the distortion from the Magnus Archives. But yeah, like basically someone clips through the world and ends up in the back rooms. And I described the monster as Doodle Bob from SpongeBob SquarePants, but scary. Am I wrong?
That's so true. That's so true. It
It's
is,
Hoi
dude.
Minoi
Yeah,
Minoi.
no, you literally said that exact thing when you showed me the video.
Yeah, it's Hoi
And
Minoi
I also
Minoi.
thought the same thing. I was like, that's Doodle Bob.
It's Doodle Bob. But
Moing,
unlike
moing.
unlike in Midnight Mass, it was still scary. Like it didn't
Yeah, it was
stop at
actually
being
scary.
scary,
Like they actually did it. Yeah, like they
despite being
actually
Doodle
did
Bob.
Doodle Bob scary.
Another thing, yes, it's a Kane Pixels. We haven't watched the other backroom projects, but yeah, it's just a wonderful idea. They deserve the
Yeah,
attention. I really love when like these projects just get like so much attention.
yeah.
Similar to do you know Trevor Henderson?
No, no.
Trevor Henderson is the creator of Siren Head. And
What's
Siren Head,
Siren
which
Head?
went super viral. You don't know Siren Head. Siren Head was
No.
like the early 2020s version of Slender Man. He went very viral. If you search Siren Head online, like you should be able to find a picture real quick. But yeah, like it's basically like I believe it went super viral when
Oh,
people
this.
started
Oh,
like
I've seen this. I have seen this.
yes, yes, yes. So
Like,
like
okay,
Siren Head,
literally the alarm siren.
exactly, Siren
I
Head.
was thinking of like mermaid sirens.
Oh, I see. Um, yeah, so basically, like, I really enjoy when things like that go viral. Um,
Mhm.
it's just a fascinating like way horror evolves on the internet. Yeah, it's just so interesting. Um, I also like what was it? Hmm. Oh yeah, it's the gosh, it. I've been seeing a lot of people react to it. It's it's the lo-fi oh gosh, what's the term? What's the one where
Vintage,
there are fake training
antiquated,
videos? Let me double check this real quick. Training
fake
videos.
training videos.
Yeah, it's Maple County. Okay. It's so analog horror, that's what it is. So there are these things on YouTube called analog horror things. Basically, yeah, it's what it sounds like. People are doing like analog horror. They're like making really creepy old-timey style like horror. And I've been, following it because I follow YouTubers like Jacksepticeye and Markiplier, and they like that kind of thing as well. And yeah, like it's I've been really enjoying. Maple County is one of the most well-known ones. It's basically a fake training video about something called oh, what were they called? They were let me look this up real quick because like I do want to share it with you. And it's very simple because basically what happens is that you just take a quiz kind of like it's an interactive horror drama is what they call it because it's kind of a game but it's like as much a game as a personality test is a game, you know what I mean?
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, so basically it's just like it's an interactive horror drama. It's a police training tape. And basically what happens is that I keep forgetting the name
Ooh.
of the creature, but basically it's a training tape that that it's a little bit off at first and then immediately they start telling you like if somebody calls and like you're not sure, like if somebody calls for help, don't go to them. That kind of thing. Cuz like
Ooh, I hate
apparently there
those. I mean,
is
those are
yeah.
cool, but I hate playing those.
Yeah, it's so creepy. You can watch like some playthroughs online, but basically, yeah, you like essentially the idea is that there is a doppelganger of you
Uh-huh.
that will come to kill you. And if somebody calls the police in Maple County, they just will not come for you because it's too dangerous because it might copy them. It might copy them.
Ooh. Okay,
It's
this
like
does sound vaguely familiar, but yeah.
it's properly scary, and I definitely recommend it. Maple County, all the analog horror stuff. As you can tell, like with Hainai being so lo-fi, we love the old-timey style horror, the analog horror. Grotty
Yeah.
horror, like I find it difficult to see horror in something so polished, and that's why when it happens, it's very apart from like space horror. I think it's very difficult to do horror when it's like everything so polished and new. It's
Yeah.
kind of why
Like
like
when it's lo-fi or analog, it adds like an element to it.
yeah, it adds like such a
It's a
creepy
little more
element.
immersive, I think, is the thing. When it's
Mhm.
more polished, like
Exactly.
it takes you out of it. It
Yeah,
feels
it's too
produced.
clean, it's too nice. Like there's not like you can't find horror stuff like things are new and polished. I mean, other types of horror, but not the horror that we find like genuinely creepy, you know?
Right?
Yeah, exactly. So like that's kind of our other hot take. If you have other like uh, media you want to share, please let us know. I guess like that's like the hot take. It's just like horror is creepier when it's old. It's not like it's not like a super hot take or it's like why
Right.
VHS is such a fun
Yeah,
piece of
it's not a
media.
hot take, but yeah.
Hmm. VHS, I haven't watched all of them, but I watched a couple of them. There's something so like unsettling about the old time, like the horror from like older media and stuff. Like it's not that new things can't be scary. It's just that you know like I guess it's because we grew up in
You
such
have
a
to do
it,
them
with a
well.
lot of old things. Yeah, we grew up with such old things. It's like so I have an example. There was this and I kind of want to tie it back to like Chucky, the remember the Chucky the movie and stuff. uh so in the Philippines there's a creature called the chakadal, and when I tried to figure out like what the name comes from, um it's like uh I think it might just be Chucky doll. Like what do you think, Reg? Like where do you think Chakadal comes from? Like I, oops, Reg, your sound is off. Uh-oh. Oh no, we've lost Reg audio wise. Hello? No. I think you might have to reconnect, Reg. Yeah. Well, this was bound to happen. But yes, we'll bring you back in just a sec. But yeah, like Chakadal is basically like a monster doll, and those creep me out from the get go. There's something so just unsettling about like just a living doll. It's not like Chucky itself is not like the monster doll. Even though he's the most famous monster doll, I don't find him the monster doll archetype. The monster dolls are more like those old time, like more like Annabelle, but even Annabelle's a little too produced. I really find just the regular porcelain dolls super creepy. The ones where they just have like the most like realistic face. They were meant to be looking realistic. They have like the glass eyes and they have like the really really hard like face. I I mentioned it in one of our live streams and in one of the episodes, but a doll room in the Philippines, there's a doll room where old dolls are housed, and it's just like a bunch of dolls just looking at you in this one room. It's just creepiest thing in the world. Yeah, so creepy dolls have been like a staple of like Filipino horror. We did call it the chakadao. And I remember very when I was very young, there was like a movie or like a show about a creepy doll. And literally all they did was that they had taken one of those old timey dolls and then they just attached her to like a rope and just or a string and just moved her around like this. And even though I'm sure it looked like weird and funny, at the same time, imagine just like that kind of doll just like coming like floating like this in an erratic way and just coming nearer to you, like just like that would still be terrifying, like genuinely. I don't know, like you don't have to have state of the art like effects to just be creepy as hell. And I think it's because a lot of Filipinos are surrounded by that kind of imagery. A lot of Filipinos simply just have not just dolls, but Mother Mary. Actually, I do have an example. Give me one sec, guys. I do. So this is a requirement. Being a my mother, my nanay, my actual nanay, required me to have one of these. But look, it's Mama Mary. Imagine this just staring at you. Imagine just looking at you all the time. Imagine if her eyes were glass and that she just stared at you all the time and she was the size of a child and she was just stood up on the side of a room and you had to pass by her every single night. Think about that. I remember there was a statue of Mother Mary in the school I was in the Catholic girls' school that I was in, and she was just like, I believe there were rumors that she cried blood, and it would happen sometimes. I think, logically it would have been because like some like there was some kind of like material inside her that was melting out because of the heat. But yeah, imagine like just a Mother Mary dripping blood. There's Reg again. Hello.
Hello, is this better?
Yes,
I
yes.
think I had a problem with the Wi-Fi, so I just like restarted the router.
That's beautiful. Thank you. It sounds so much better as well. I was just showing off
Nice.
like the Filipino experience, Reg, of having her watch
Oh,
you all the time.
oh God.
But her
Okay,
eyes
yeah,
were glass.
Santo Niños.
Yeah. Oh my god, the Santo Niños. They're baby Jesus dolls, and they also have the creepiest faces in the world.
They are so scary.
God, like I want more creepy. Like I want more like just creepy doll slash like statue things. Because imagine it. Um. So Woxy just said a sort of offshoot I like about analog horror is like videos that look like they're made in Windows Movie Maker by kids who don't understand and they should probably be afraid of what they're making. That's so true. They're just like there's something so creepy about like roughly made things that just unsettle you. I just love them. I love them.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, they add that aspect of of creepiness to it.
Mhm. Ooh, Reg, do you mind if I just like bring up pictures of Santo Nino on share screen,
Sure.
on screen share?
Okay.
Let me just do
Sure.
that right
Sure.
now.
Just show how creepy they are. So these like Santo Niños, they're in a lot of Filipino households, especially
Oh
like the
yeah.
traditional, like
Oh yeah.
traditionally designed, I guess, or like decorated, sorry, traditionally decorated Filipino households.
Mhm.
There's
So here's
zooming
like the
on.
really good.
Yeah, look at
That's
those faces.
one.
Imagine those staring at you out in the hall. We used
Exactly.
to
There was like,
like back in my childhood home, like and our Santo Niño shrine was at the end of a long hallway.
oh yeah,
So
that's the other thing. Oh
down the
God, why did I
hallway
do this to
was so
myself?
scary.
Look at this. This is the oh, this is the worst. This is the worst. I had this. I still have it in my house
Oh,
actually.
those ones are like extra creepy.
This one, like just crying. Yeah. Yeah, imagine these but like unironically people just having them. Like these aren't left there just for creeps. Like they're literally just there because people take comfort in them. And fair enough, people take comfort in them, but growing up just having them at you,
Um,
no.
Moxie says
No.
Mexican families also have these too. Lol. Yeah, shared culture,
Yeah, exactly. Mexican and
shared TBGC
Filipinos
statue
like
culture.
handshake. Creepy Santa Nina. Santa
Shout
Nina,
out to
who's little.
Mexico.
What's that?
Yeah, just shout out to Mexico and their shared culture. Yeah, it's literally
Honestly.
the meme of the emojis doing that.
Yeah, just being like traumatized by Catholicism. Um, Colonialism,
It is the
Catholicism, they sound the
colonialism.
same, don't they?
Shout
Mm-hmm.
out to our
Exactly.
fellow colonized homies.
Exactly. Shout out. But yeah, so if you guys have any other like media that you want us to talk to, have hot takes about, so we don't keep showing you like our creepy images of religious images. I mean, honestly, Mary here is not that scary, but still, like,
Honestly, that's pretty benign compared to
yeah,
like the
this is
other
pretty
stuff
benign. She doesn't have her
I see in
hands
Filipino
anymore,
households.
but which is pretty typical because sometimes the limbs just straight up fall off. But other than that, yeah, they can still be really creepy. Do you remember the Mother Mary statue in our school, in our shared school, which we will not dox ourselves with, in our shared Catholic girls' school that
Yep.
cried blood? Was it
Yeah, that was a thing. That was like a
a
story that
rumor?
went around.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. Ooh, Kristen says favorite horror books. Philippine ghost stories.
Philippine ghost
True
story.
Philippine ghost stories is a series of really cheap books that were everywhere, and you could just and they had like those those YouTube thumbnails with like just a bunch of copy pasted like Google image searches of like horror
Mhm.
things that
Yeah.
are just like compiled. That's how the covers look like. But it was fun because like basically they would just take urban legends and people's stories, people's Philippine ghost stories,
And
and just put them into, yeah, and compile them, and they were like
compile
really
them, and you can
valuable.
get them for cheap. Yeah.
Exactly. They were like, that's one of them. What's another like horror book that I really? What about you,
I
Rich?
really enjoyed the Annihilation. So a Netflix movie starring Natalie Portman
Oh, it's
was
Netflix
adapted
movie.
from this. Although the movie is very very far from the book.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they're pretty much only similar in name and I guess like general like opening premise.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like Annihilation, the book. Like I'm baby with like TV show and movie horror, but book horror I've been pretty good with, but because it's easier for me to like remove myself from the situation because I'm just reading the text,
Mm-hmm.
so I can so I can kind of control like how scary the imagery is, I guess, in my head. But Annihilation, that was genuinely like I had to like I was while reading it. Like I had to go out of my room and find like other people. Like I don't want to be alone anymore. And it does atmospheric horror so well
That's
because
awesome.
there's no main it's there's no main like monster or ghost or anything. It's just about this protagonist who's trying to solve a mystery in this like very bizarre other world,
Mm-hmm.
but then they do the atmosphere so well. I think like atmospheric horror in writing is even like I think horror writing horror in prose form, like that's already hard in itself, but atmospheric horror, like they did that so well, like without the benefit of sound or imagery. or like or sound or visuals. So I think like Annihilation by, sorry, I forgot the author. Annihilate Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. So that's the
Mhm.
book. Like Jeff
Yeah.
Vandermeer did it so well.
I do have to shout out some obviously scary stories to tell in the dark with all the creepy imagery. The one
Also like
one
as
picture,
childhood
yeah,
classic
trauma. It was like traumatic.
trauma.
I genuinely had nightmares because of one image from that book. But we had it in our library. And there was so I do want to shout out when I was younger, and this is so funny because I have to share it. When I was younger, I had this like really thick book of like Frankenstein themed stories, and
Ooh.
it was like this grotty adult like Frankenstein stories because it had like a lot of really like adult stories in them. But here's the weird thing: it was super horny. Like it was like, and it's not the theme of the book. That's not the theme of the book. It was like properly like a horror anthology of Frankenstein based stories. But like when I read it, it was like, God, these are such horny stories, and I'm just like, good for you guys. I remember when I think back on it now, I was just like, wow, wow. There is
Yeah.
like, but I do remember there was one story in it that I really liked. I really liked. It was
Was it also
I remember
horny?
it because I'm pretty sure I wrote a fan fiction about it like a long time ago. But basically,
As you do with these
as you
things.
do. Exactly. And it was interesting because it was actually also like a lesbian love story before I kind of like sought out queer stories, like before I even thought about it that way. But
Ooh.
essentially, it was about this woman who had like accepted being part of like an experiment. The experiment was basically to have her entire body like replaced, because
Ooh.
she was old and she was like gonna die anyway. And basically, she was like, "Okay, I'm gonna be part of this experiment if we can successfully transfer somebody's brain into a different body or like different body parts." And it was like recounting how she was blind because she didn't have any eyes, and she was basically like this bunch of stumps. And basically, they were starting to like attach like a bunch of like different limbs. So it was like it was Frankenstein themed. They were attaching limbs that were young. They were attaching like different that. And the doctor, he was a celebrity doctor type deal. He was like super
Mhm.
handsome, super hot. He was also like really creepy. Like he was like kind of like like really full of himself. And he was super in love with her, basically in love with the idea of her. And yeah,
Oh.
basically he like formed this entire like perfect woman, quote unquote. And yeah, he formed a perfect woman. It was like this super hot, super, perfect lady from like this old woman. But the woman, as this was happening, actually fell in love with her nurse, her old nurse. Um,
Aw. It
and at
got
the
so sweet
end, it's
suddenly.
super sweet because like this guy is like so egotistical, and he's like always like telling her how much he loves her, even though it's clear he doesn't. And she's just like, no, I'm in love with my nurse. And then I think they run away together at the end, and I'm just like, this is hell
That
yes,
ended super
actually.
sweet. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, also Woxy says,
Yes, the
oh, I
mystery flesh
also
pit.
have the story of the mystery flesh pit. That's like a world building project about an oil mining company finding a giant organism underground and decided to make a theme park in its giant mouth. And then Moxie like also posted like a link to a poster about
Can you
it.
access that
I
one?
wonder if we can share this.
Mysteryfleshpitnationalpark.com. Yeah, let's search tourism. I don't think it's for some reason it's not letting us copy paste it, but Waxy, if you can share it to the Discord, we'll definitely share it as well. Oh, I love ideas of mystery flesh pits.
Oh,
That's so fun.
oh, that's very cool.
That is so cool. I also want to just say, I guess like I like horror comics. There's that. I just want to say that like horror comics are fun, but I'm having a hard time remembering any more like horror books that I've read. I feel like I read every single Goosebumps and Fear Street book in our library when I was younger.
I oh, I read every single Goosebumps in our library. Same, same. That was a
Oh,
childhood classic. Oh, also Woxy says about
Mystery
the
Flesh Pit.
mystery flesh with theme park. The horror is the lengths they went to exploit it. Lol. Yup.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
horror
real
is always
horror, guys,
capitalism.
is always capitalism.
It's true. Oh my gosh. I love it. I love stories where it's like the horror is capitalism. That's what Jaws was. Jaws is literally just the
Right,
horror
that's
is capitalism.
true.
That's
That's
always
true.
like the best kind of like horror, I think. Just the horror is capitalism. I think that's also why anytime we ever talk about the Philippines, that's the theme. That's
That's
why it's always the
true.
scariest thing. The horror is capitalism.
Yeah, that's what we always say. Like the scariest thing in Hainai aren't the monsters, it's the corruption.
It's the corruption of rich people. Yeah.
I
So,
love that. I love
mhm.
that. You made it sound like the collective term for rich people. You know how it's like a murder of crows or murder of ravens or like a flock of geese. It's like a corruption of rich people.
A corruption of rich people. I do want to shout out my favorite horror comics by M. Carroll. His Face All Red is a classic. I did I ever show those to you, Reg?
Maybe you did. It sounds a
Mhm.
little familiar, but I'm not sure
Yeah, his
anymore.
Face All Red is a great one. If you guys have any other, we're hitting like the last 30 minutes, but if you guys have any other suggestions for horror media, um, we can take a look at maybe. Let me see. Some of the others. Did I miss any suggestions? Let's make sure that we didn't miss any suggestions because all y'all are amazing for sending suggestions in. We're very happy to see them. Um, let's see. Uh, I do want to shout out a couple of like horror games that I've. I like to watch Let's Players, so I like to watch horror games. And I believe one of the ones that like I watched recently was about a what was it? It was about a um oh wait, I just realized something, Reg. We never talked about Until Dawn.
What?
We kind of jumped into something else.
I don't think.
Yeah, Until Dawn was mentioned.
Oh, the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
video game.
Yes. Until Dawn was interesting.
Well, I never played
Like
it because again, it's
horror,
horror.
yeah.
I know of it.
It's like I hear it was really good, but also like it had like that feature of horror movies where like every protagonist is just unbearably bad and awful.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's one of those
tell
things
us
where
the
you have
hot
to keep
take.
them alive, but you hate them in general. That was Until Dawn. But it had like such interesting like dynamics. Like you think it's one type of horror, but then they kind of like drop a different type of horror on you and it's like I love it when that happens. I love it when a horror movie like decides to switch it up, like makes you think one thing but it's actually another thing. Well, I love it except when it's for supernatural horror because that one feels lazy, like when
Oh,
something
okay.
seems to be supernatural horror, but they're like, actually, it was this all along. I'm like, that one's just, it happens so many times. It's just like,
Yeah, it's like it's a tired trope now at
it's a
this
tired
point.
trope.
Like I think there are still ways to pull it off in a way that's fresh,
Hmm.
and not tiring, but it has to be like well done. But if it's just gonna
Exactly.
be like basic reveal, it's like uh,
Yeah, like they've been doing it since Scooby Doo. You think you're doing something new? Like you're not. And it's also like,
yeah,
it's
it's
literally just
basically
Scooby
Scooby
Doo.
Doo.
And it's also
Only
like,
Scooby Doo can do it.
yeah, and like a lot of them are they have such disdain for like supernatural horror in even though sometimes supernatural horror is some of the scariest horror there is. And especially like personally I cannot stand it. Like there's something about supernatural horror that trumps all other horror for me and that's why mine is themed supernatural horror. But there's
Same,
also yeah, and like I said
though.
it's like it's Scooby Doo or it's like literally just the horror version of It Was All a Dream. You know
Exactly.
what I mean?
Yeah, I was gonna say like it's basically like just one level away from it was all a dream.
Exactly. It's
It's
dumb.
a little,
It's
yeah,
like
it's annoying. I get that.
it's why I love Guillermo del Toro so much because he has like that thing where sometimes it's explicitly supernatural, but in the case of for example Pan's Labyrinth, you don't know. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like there's certain aspects of it that had to be supernatural. There's no other explanation for it, but there's also just enough that it's like
that makes you doubt a bit. Like, if,
yeah, you're
yeah,
like
that's
wondering.
the yeah. It is like yeah, it's a little bit like Inception. Like, at the end of
Yeah, at the
Inception,
end of
people are like,
Inception, yeah.
was it a dream or not? And it's the same case with Pan's Labyrinth. Like,
Exactly,
was it all
exactly.
real or not? And even if it was real, like at the end, like is it just a dream or is she actually spoilers like did she actually become a princess or did she die and it was just a dream
Or both. I like
or
it's kind of like a very Sandman-esque, and we're just gonna talk about Sandman very briefly, but yeah, a very Sandman-esque concept. Like it's a why not both situation, or like why does it have to be one or the other? So I really like that. I love
I really
media
like
like
that.
that where it respects the genre that it's in. I think that's my biggest problem with a lot of quote unquote smart horror, quote unquote.
Mm,
So much of it is just a disdain for the genre of horror.
yeah,
Like disguised as being trying to be do something new. Um you can be fresh and new, but like there's some media where it's just like it's so clear that's all you want to do. It's like because you think what came before is so much worse than what you're making, and that's always bad horror. That's always
yeah. That
turning
always
into
ends up
bad
like being
horror.
a bad product when you don't have
Yeah,
respect for like who paved the path before you.
exactly. Like if you don't have love for the genre, people can tell. It's that's how it is with any genre. Like with romance, with horror, with action, with superheroes, that kind of thing. People can tell when you have disdain for the thing, and it's always bad, and it's just it's
Yeah.
frustrating. It
Yeah,
happens a lot with horror.
so yeah, I have like a similar take for what was that? Army of the Dead
Oh
starring Dave
really?
Bautista. I
Oh
wouldn't say Zack Snyder had a disdain for the genre, but did you watch Army of the Dead?
no, I've heard of it though.
Yeah, and but it did feel like he just wanted to be fresh and new for this like and then
Sake of
just
being fresh and new.
completely disregarded the rest of the zombie genre.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, what I do know about Army of the Dead is that there, like, Zack Snyder did something really interesting with like effects and stuff, but other than
It
that,
was
like, I
interesting in
don't know.
terms of effects.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, because he did like he made like this whole world building aspect to it where like zombies there I guess have their own like culture and hierarchy and social dynamics. And he leaned too much into like into the world building of that. And it was like just he just forgot like he basically forgot that at the end of the day this still has to be a zombie movie.
oh, interesting, interesting. That's the hot take
Yeah.
for Army of the Dead.
Yeah, yeah. It was like, and it was barely like it was like I wanted to like it. It was still
Hmm.
enjoyable. It's still very entertaining. Dave Batista still did a good job.
Hmm.
The visuals were really cool and
Hmm.
stylish and well done. But yeah, like it's a zombie movie and it's a heist movie, and it's like, how do you mess this up? How do you mess this up? Like a heist zombie movie, come on. And it was, yeah, like he leaned too much into like the world building. Like I think he was really in love with the idea of the world in Army of the Dead that he forgot that they were supposed to be zombies, and then he
uh,
forgot that it was also supposed to be a heist movie. It was for a bit, and then it but then on like at the like it was barely a heist movie.
what I'll say about Zack Snyder in general with all of his work is that I hate 90% of his work, but everything I hear about him as a director and as like somebody who works with other people is that he is a fantastic director to work with, and
Yeah,
people like
yeah,
working with him because he's very collaborative. That's literally so it's so funny because I have such a deep goodwill for Zack Snyder, but I hate
same.
everything he makes.
I know, same. It's really like I want to like something you do for once because you seem like a
Yeah.
swell guy.
Exactly. It's so fascinating. And I think it's nice to have that sort of a person because I'm just like, I hate everything Zack Snyder makes, but I hear he's a swell dude. I hear he's like wonderful to work with, and
He's a swell
I'm glad
guy.
he gets to work in this industry because we need more people who are like not dicks, who are like not
Yeah,
awful to work with. And I'm just like, keep making your stuff. I hate it, but keep making it because I want you to succeed because like that's the kind of
right, right. Like
you
I
like,
will, you
yeah.
know what? I will take this. Oh, I will take it over like really horrible
An
guys in the
artiste, yeah.
industry who make good movies. Like I can live
Exactly.
without
Like
good
what's his
movies.
face? Roman Polanski or something.
Roman Polanski,
Yeah.
uh,
Uh
Woody Allen.
exactly. Ooh, you know what though? I will say, the one thing I do know about Army of the Dead is that Tig Notaro was completely CGI'd in and you didn't notice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because the original actor, who was the original actor?
I
He
don't
had
know,
a
but he was accused of like sexual assault, or
yeah. So that
harassment
was
as
really
usual.
cool what they did with that.
Exactly. And he was so he did it well too cuz like you can't like a lot of times when you
I
do
wasn't able to tell. I didn't get
exactly.
like yeah,
And
yeah.
VFX like
Also,
needs such a specific like handling, and he did it. Like he respected the medium, and then it's like, yeah, good for you, Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Another hot take though. So this is like one of my pet peeves in TV shows and movies is
Yes,
when like it doesn't feel like the character has like a sense of urgency. So oh my gosh. So like an example is in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, and then
I
they
haven't
have to
watched
get
it.
to this like mystical book that can
Uh-huh.
help them defeat like evil Wanda,
Uh-huh.
Scarlet Witch, and then they're being chased by this all powerful witch. It's like, guys, you put like an obstacle in her path. You have like seconds, and then Doctor Strange, like they find the book, and then he takes his sweet freaking time walking over to it because he's in such awe. I'm like, come on! So that is my pet peeve when it's like they forget their sense of urgency.
It's like,
That
yeah, in
also
horror
happens in
movies.
Army of the Dead. They're
Oh my
being
god.
chased by the boss zombie, but then the father and daughter take like they were already gonna get on the helicopter. They could have escaped. It was right there. The helicopter was there, but then they take their sweet freaking time looking at each other and being all fatherly and daughterly. It was like seconds, and I'm like, guys, come on, you don't have
Yeah,
time for this. That's my
manufactured like problems. I hate it when people just
yeah,
manufacture
manufactured
problems.
problems. I hate that. Honestly, like I get really, really annoyed. Like I'm so tired of that now. Like in media, like I am so tired. It is just so lazy when I see that now.
Yeah,
Like yeah, like I get like it was. I think it's my like number one pet peeve in media.
lazy
So like that's
writing,
another thing. They did
convenient
a
writing.
lot of that in Army of the Dead. Like stop, guys, come on.
Yeah,
So yeah.
honestly.
So yeah, Army of
Mm.
the Dead still cool. But yeah, it's not as fun as you expect it to be when you hear the words like heist zombie movie.
Exactly. You know, I will think of like I did think of one example of the it was not supernatural at all, that was done well, and that would be The Boy.
Oh, that actually is done well
That was well
because
done.
the reveal, it's still there's still an aspect of horror to it.
Yeah, the reveal is like scare, like genuinely scarier. It's not just like, oh, the truth was this thing was like, it's like not so. It's not so much that it's like, oh, it's creepier because it was real people who did this thing, and you're just stuck being like, so how do you do this? How do you do that? Whatever. But with The Boy, it's like you have this creepy doll that's like just freaky, and then suddenly you have a freaking like horrible horrible man crawl out of
Right?
the
Like
wall.
out of the walls.
Full horror story, and I'm just like, damn, okay. That I like that. I like it when
Yeah,
that
they did it
happens,
well
like.
because you can't even tell like if this is like scarier or not, that it's like a full grown man hidden in the walls who's been stalking you this whole time.
Oh my gosh. And yeah, it's so like I love it when like you replace, like you take one horror and then you just go hard on another one. That's kind of like, that's what I like. It's not like when you're like, oh, it's actually creepy because it's real, and I'm like, yeah, fuck you. Like I don't care. It's a fake movie. Like you're gonna have to do way more than that to like to convince me that like this real thing in your fake movie is scarier than a
It's
fake thing in your fake
scarier.
movie. It's
Right. Oh,
like, God. Loxy says, I made
yeah.
my sister made me go watch that Multiverse of Madness. I tried to sneak out and watch another movie, but every theater was
Every
playing it.
theater was playing it.
Ah, Marvel.
Okay, like I guess it's not a horror movie, but it is fun. So they got what's his name? Ramsey? No. Fuck, I forgot his name. The
Ooh.
director.
Oh,
Sam Raimi, sorry. Yeah.
Sam Raimi.
They
Yeah,
got
yeah.
Sam Raimi to direct Multiverse of Madness. And yeah, he added like bits of horror elements to it. So like that was super fun. But Multiverse of Madness, I also have some hot takes, some thoughts on it. Honestly, like it's basically a bunch of like really cool scenes put together. But
Hmm.
character arc wise, it's like what? That
I
doesn't
haven't
make
watched it yet.
sense.
And
Yeah.
honestly, I don't really want to.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it's really just a bunch of Yeah, it's one of those movies where while you're watching it, it's enjoyable, but then the more you distance yourself away from it, the more you're like, yeah, that wasn't really a good movie.
Yeah, I
And it
bet.
was very, I think, and it was extra disappointing because I think this was the movie where everyone was expecting it's where people were expecting the TV shows would get tied into the movies. It did a little bit with WandaVision, but Loki wasn't acknowledged at all, and like other stuff they hinted in the Marvel universe. So that was like an extra layer of disappointment. But other than that, like they were cool, but yeah, no.
Yeah. I'm
I
trying to think
appreciate
of
it.
like
Looked like Sam Raimi had fun with it, so I appreciate that. But yeah, you can live without watching it in theaters, guys.
yeah, honestly. You know what though? I just thought of like one other like horror video game that I appreciate. Like
Hmm.
it's not there's not much to playing it, but I think it's like genuinely fun because it's the oh, what was it called? I forgot what the name is, but it's about a barista being stalked. It's
Oh,
so let me look this up real quick. And the reason it's so good is actually so it's made by it's called The Closing Shift, and it's made by Chilla's Art, which is like an independent like studio or
oh,
person who does like really small scale horror games. And the reason this one is so good is because it is basically for 90% of the game a barista simulator.
oh,
So
okay.
essentially it's basically about this Japanese barista at Chilla's Coffee, who's like preparing drinks for people, and like the entire time it's kind of building up to something, but you don't know what. But for most of it, you're just getting used to like it's the Woman in Black effect. And do you remember Woman in Black, Reg?
Yeah, you recommended it. You recommended that I watch the stage play in
On
when I visited London.
Yeah,
Still one of the scariest interactive
experiences.
horror productions I've ever experienced.
Yeah, and if you ever get the chance to watch Woman in Black on stage, everybody do it because it's going to be the scariest thing in your entire life. And I do think it is. It's one of the scariest things in my entire life. And the reason, yeah,
There's a
I
movie
compare.
version, but without the interactive aspect of it.
Yeah, the movie's creepy, but it's not like the scariest thing you'll ever see in your entire life. But the stage play, oh, absolutely. But yeah,
Yep.
so the closing shift, the reason it works so well is that for a long time, it kind of just keeps you very chill, not to not to make fun, but like it makes you just make drinks over and over, and you get you and there's just a little bit of a challenge to like doing the drinks. So you have to memorize the thing and you have to do the thing, and there's like a lot of different choices, and you just keep making drinks and you just keep making food and you just keep doing barista tasks, and at some point you're like, when is it gonna get bad? And it doesn't. For a long time it just doesn't. And there are moments where it gets a little creepy, but like for the most part, like nothing's happening, and then things start escalating slightly, and then like the next thing you know, like, and then then they bring in like the first big jump scare, and you're like, holy shit, because this entire time you've been lulled into this false sense of comfort just doing the barista things. And I find
Ooh,
that really like comfort. I find that really cool, and it's like so many
that is
moments where they
cool. I've
just,
never heard of this game before, but
yeah,
that's a really cool
you
premise.
can watch a few playthroughs. Do you know Ryan and Shane from Watcher?
I do.
They play it with a very famous streamer whose name escapes me right now, but like they did that as well. It's super fun. It's I recommend you watch it. It's
Ooh,
it's really good. Like it's I think like it's that's why it's so good, because it's like so, it lulls you. It makes you so like
yeah, I love
chill.
those. Yeah,
Mhm.
like give me a
Like,
second. I need to get my
yeah, of course,
charger.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah, so it's just like, I don't know. I love things like that where it's just like the creep factor kind of just like slowly builds, but it doesn't necessarily have to keep up the atmosphere the entire way. Like there are certain ones where the atmosphere being like held for a long time is very good, and those are really good movies, those are really good media. But there's other there's other media where it's just like, oh, just be happy, just be chill, nothing's wrong, and then they just like, oh, actually something's wrong. It's like, I love those. I love both of those. Horror is so fun, so versatile. I'm trying to think. So I'm trying to think of like what the I love watching horror YouTubers and stuff, but for some reason, like I haven't like consumed a lot of horror meat. Although that will change because the Guillermo del Toro's horror thing is happening in October, Reg.
What horror thing?
Oh my god, his Cabinet of Curiosities, I think it's called,
Oh,
on
oh, I
Netflix.
didn't know. I didn't know that was a thing. I only know Pinocchio is coming out.
Oh my god, so it's called the Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities, a 4-day double episode event planned for Halloween. He has curated a collection of genre
Ooh.
stories. I think we should react to these, or at least like have some kind of live thing for this, Reg.
Ooh, I'm down. I'm
We
down.
should. It would be so cool. But you know what
That would be
else?
so cool.
I will tell people right
I
now. So
only
we're
like I thought he only had like non-fruity Pinocchio coming out this year.
yeah, non-fruity Pinocchio. But yeah, so here's a plan, and I'll let you all in on this secret. You who are all watching still. Um, so in October is our finale, is our Act Two finale, and there is just this really like it's gonna be super fun. We have a big plan. We have a lot of people taking part in it. It's basically in the Act Two finale, we're gonna take a break afterwards. So just letting you all know we're watching this. Act Two finale is gonna be a big one. It might be a two-parter. It's gonna be a really heavy episode, and it's gonna be in October because we started the series in October technically, and we are gonna be not. It's not the end of the series because there's still gonna be Act Three of season one, but it'll be the big one, and then we will do Act Three after a short break. And what's gonna happen is we're gonna be doing a hiatus a little bit again, just so we can prepare for Act Three, just so we can get everything done. We can get catch up on our like all our backlog. And for those of you who are unaware, we are actually casting for the finale. We are actually just casting for like different roles in the finale. And if you want to be part of it, join our Discord. We'll be discussing like the finale and our big, it's gonna be so huge, our big plans for the
Our big
finale.
plans. And sorry about that. I had to take a call, but
Yeah,
yeah. Well, our finale is coming up. We have so many plans, especially for like October. So watch
yeah.
out for those.
I also thought, yeah. Oh yeah, Waxy, be really excited.
Yeah, we're
I
coming
also
up to the
thought,
end
Reg.
of Act Two.
I also considered that we could do a real we could do a re-listen. So we're gonna do a listen along to every episode of Hainai before the finale. So
Ooh, yeah, we
we're
can do
gonna
that.
we're gonna announce the schedule, but we're basically gonna do live streams of every episode before the finale.
Ooh,
And
with commentary.
yeah, well, not necessarily. I mean, we
Not
can have
really,
like
yeah.
chat on.
Chat on, yeah.
So that's probably what we're gonna do. And yeah, basically that's what's gonna happen. We're gonna like count down to the finale. So watch out for that. It's also a good time to get your friends into Hainai because like finally we're ending the act two, so there's a proper ending point for people to
Mm-hmm,
listen to.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, in the meantime, get excited. We're preparing August's episode. It's a fun one. It's a very fun one. We are gonna be doing some announcements and preparing for Act Two finale. We're gonna do the September episode, which oh gosh, I'm so excited for September's episode. Reg,
It's gonna be a good
uh,
one.
it's the DJ one.
Nice, yeah. That's a fun one. So stay tuned for that. We won't say much.
hmm but I will say that it is one episode where the words "behind you" will be used. So hopefully you guys enjoy that one. Anyway, we are hitting the last 2 minutes. If you guys have any other questions or want to catch up on anything, please speak in the chat. Thank you so much for joining us,
Yeah.
though.
Thank you for
Um,
joining us. Thank you for listening to horror stories, both fictional and real,
yeah,
and
both
some of
fictional.
them concerning babies getting delivered out
Oh
of
yeah,
nowhere.
and bodily fluids and all that.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Woxy. Thank you also, Kristen Kapach.
Mm-hmm. Or
Yeah,
Captain.
thanks for
Yeah.
joining us. If you have any other, yeah, if you have like any other things you want us to give a shout out at or like
Mhm.
mention, feel
I'm
free to chime in on the chat.
Yeah, I'm very curious about that weird jump spike in numbers of people watching us for a short time. Like, what the hell was that? It was all from Twitch too. Like, I don't understand where that came from at all.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like, I don't know, like, was it just a spam thing? We went from like 4 to 5 viewers to about like 35 viewers, and then it went back to 4 to 5, and I was just like,
Like
yeah,
a weird spike.
yeah,
Maybe they were our viewers, and then they heard me talking about like labor fluid getting sprayed on me, and then they were like, "Oh, nope,
nope, bye. No, but it was
nope."
after, like, it was in the middle of like it was middle of like Stranger Things talk, I believe, or
Oh,
around that
yeah,
time.
okay.
But yeah,
Maybe
anyway,
maybe we offended the Stranger Things fans.
oh, or maybe bots. Yeah, it probably
Maybe
was bots.
bots.
It would be very funny though if like no, it was the Midnight Mass actually. It wasn't even Stranger Things, it was Midnight Mass. We just offended the Midnight
We
Mass.
offended the Midnight Mass
Oh
fans. We're
no.
sorry.
We're just like, oh
We
no.
offended the Mike Flanagan fans. Wait, we love Mike Flanagan over
Yeah,
here. He
Mike
does good
Flanagan's
work.
freaking awesome. Uh uh Hill House is still the scariest TV show.
Oh God, yeah, that one I had to watch with my brothers and friends. That
Oh
was
yeah.
so much screaming. I don't remember screaming that much in
Yeah,
in
right? Oh my gosh, it was
thing.
proper scary. I don't, you know, the last show that I watched that was that scary, and this might surprise you, but the last show that I watched that was like willing to be that scary was the first season of Supernatural. Do you
Oh,
know this? Like, Supernatural was like properly scary for the first few seasons, like first three almost.
I watched the first episode, so I know like how far off like it got.
Yeah, it was super scary. Like, it was proper scary. Then it like decided not to be scary, but that's okay. Like, I don't know. It was like it was fine for like the first 5 seasons of Supernatural are like genuinely like amazing TV. Like, they're no joke. Like, it was really well done. And
Yeah.
that's not surprising. It was the creator of The Boys, so it's like duh, you know. I don't like The Boys, but I know it's good. Anyway, we should probably sign off now. Thank you so much for everyone who joined us. It was probably a mistake to bring her out of her spot on the altar because I feel like
Oh
I'm just like,
gosh.
nah, but she loves me.
Aw.
Yeah,
She's there
but
to protect you.
yeah, she's there to protect me, and Jesus too.
And Jesus. At least they're not the scary kind.
Exactly, they're not like the creepy looking glass-eyed.
Oh God. Oh God. I would not be able to sleep if I had that in my condo.
I remember like in grade school we had like the one Santo Nino, and I swear he moved his hands.
Oh. Oh yeah. Like the horror stories about like
In the
the
chapel.
statues in Santa Nina's, like who like a hand would, or their eyes would move, or like their
Exactly.
lips would be like upturned suddenly, or they'd be smiling suddenly.
Or the ones that whose eyes followed you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you know what these look like in our Catholic school, yeah, those are like, oh,
Yeah,
you do
that's
not
why.
want those eyes following you.
Hmm. Exactly. And yeah, like my final statement for this stream is that I think the reason we love supernatural horror so much is that we're surrounded by pain and suffering, and that's what makes ghosts. And it's more comforting to think of supernatural horrors than just real life, the horror that is real life.
That is true.
All right. Much love, everybody.
Good
Paalam.
night.
Hanggang sa
Yeah, at least
muli.
you can
We love
properly
you
fight the
all.
ghosts.
Come join us for the live stream of the. We're gonna live stream the episode, the new episode, uh, which will premiere next Sunday as usual, barring any delays because we are a small team and things can
We
happen.
are a small
But
team.
knock
We
on
are
wood.
a small indie group. That is why, like, we would love it if you just share, spread the word about Hainai, give
Yeah,
us some love.
listen, follow us on all our socials, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're actually going to do another YouTube subscribe push soon with some bonus content, so check that out because we need to earn money. We're not
Thank you
gonna
to
talk
all
about
our
it.
supporters.
Yeah, we're not gonna talk about it until like we've finished like the act two, but we're gonna do a fundraiser. So watch out for that. And even if you can't fundraise, you can shit spread the word. So thank you so much. We
Thank you
love you
so much.
all so much. Thank you. We love you. And bye, everybody. We're
Hanggang sa
ending the stream
muli.
now. Bye 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 bye.